Cycles. Series of events that are regularly repeated in same order. Accountability. The fact or condition of being accountable. I had to look up these words because I really wanted to know the definition, of these words. A lot of us don't really talk about cycles in life that keeps repeating itself and keeps repeating itself over and over again. It was passed down from one generation to the next generation to the next generation and so forth and so forth. And one of the things that I realized was that a lot of us didn't really take an accountability that these things need to be, answered for. Because one of the things that we have to understand as people is that problems don't fade away. They just continue to keep going on and on and on, and that's we call them the cycle. And they keep going on until somebody solve it. And the only thing about that is that if they don't get solved, they start coming down to the next generation. So let's just say if you didn't know how to keep a job or anything like that, the sons or daughters that come before you or the people that you attach yourself to, those people will tend to start dealing with those type of situations. And nobody never really asks why. They just continue to go to the cycle. A lot of people, we find ourselves in these situations, it's just like, man, why does this keep happening? Because it's a cycle, and nobody is taking accountability for their actions and for the things that they have done, for the things that they have said, the things they have shown, because nobody really thinks about something until it's too late. So I've been doing this thing for a minute, and I keep finding myself at the exact same place year after year, finding myself in this fight, talking about cycles, talking about accountability. Because when you start talking about these things, a lot of people kind of get defensive, and it's not because of, you trying to, say whatever. It's because you're telling the truth, and they start to attack their character of who they are, and they never really thought about these things. So when you start saying and you start speaking it, a lot of people start feeling some type of way. So I kind of leave it alone because I don't want to feel like I'm hurting anybody, or I don't want to feel like, I'm trying to talk about anything about it. But the only thing I really care about is that the cycle stop and that the accountability is being taken. So I'm finding myself in this fight with life. I'm finding myself in life, as I'm going through life. I'm navigating through some things that came from my mom and her grandma, so forth, so forth. And I realized that some of the things that I face, I'm watching my sisters and I watch my brothers go through it, and I'm watching some of the people around me go through, and the kids. So I find myself back right here talking about the same situation. And if I'm honest, I kind of, you know, I didn't really want to deal with it, but here I am. So one of the things that is kind of that need to be said and is never really heard is that the generations before us, it's time to be held accountable for the actions that came before us. See, problems don't tend to find themselves into the next generation unless they don't get solved. And here we are in 2020. So I want to give a little, background on just our generation. Some of our generation, um, we're living with hurt. We're living with abandonment, a lack of love, and so many other things. And, we're trying to find certain stuff that we didn't really get at home. And on the other side of that, we're also trying to find success. We're also trying to find culture. We're also trying to find generational wealth, man. So our kids will never have to go what we went through. The biggest problem with all of that is that the generation before us are not taking an accountability that these things was done on their end, and that is showing up in our lives. So now here we are dealing with those situations. So I brought this question up in a congregation, on Sunday, and I asked, what can we do to bridge these things together? And there was no answer. There was no answer because the accountability that need to be taken, people don't want to take it. They feel attacked and they start getting defensive. Listen, I understand that life happens. Life happens every single day. A lot of us find ourselves in moments we wish we can take back, situations that we wish we never would have got ourselves into. And it's life. It happens. But at some point in the life, the people before us, they stop growing. They stop. They stop learning. The love started to dry up. The careness, everything started to dry up on so many levels. The 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 fact of not dreaming anymore, not going after success, not going after the things that you desire in life. Spirituality started to grow. Started to downgrade. Mental, everything started to downgrade. And you want to know something? It came back to our generation. So here we are today. The biggest thing that we need to learn is time to take accountability for those things that happened in the past. It's time to take accountability, and a lot of people don't. So, one of the things that I had to learn is that our generation will have to navigate through these things. I want to break this down just a little bit more, because one of the things that my mom taught me was that if you don't get everything at home, you're gonna have a hard time trying to be in life. So what I learned is that when my mom, she left home, my mom was young. My mom, she was having me. My mom and I are like 15, 16 years apart. So she had me. So in the midst of all that, my mom had to go to work. My mom had to care for her kids. My mom had to care for her sister kids and everything like that. In the midst of all that, my mom stopped growing as a person. She stopped showing love because it was all about taking care of the household. It was all about doing this and doing that. And she didn't understand or didn't know that becoming a person that she needed to be was everything that will need to be held down to the generation, which is me. The information, the wisdom, the love, the security, the validation, all of that was left in that time zone, and it never really reached us. See, a lot of people don't want to talk about that because you start talking about their character like they did everything right. It's life. Nobody does everything right. Nobody. I understand that, when we in church, they say that the word of God will never change. But the way that we preach the word of God can change. It can. So we can start reaching our generation. They call our generation the lost generation, the generation that don't want to listen. Well, how do we get that way? We didn't just all of a sudden just became that way. It's the generation before us, and we're the consequences of what they didn't do. So that's why all that thing kind of happened. So I wanna really get to a place, man, where these things are being held accountable, but the cycles break. The cycles break because our generation is paying so much. And you want to know something crazy? While we are navigating through the past generations trials, they tribulations, the generation that's after us are being let down. They've been let down even worse. So now it's coming 10 times harder to the next generation. That's a problem. So while our generation is navigating through those problems, those situations, we struggling on being a parent. We struggling on being good steward over our money. We struggling to find the validation. We struggle to find the love, and we are finding ourselves in so many different situations that we should not be in. But there's no one there to tell us that we shouldn't. Now, when you go to church, there is, people that will tell you what it is, though. But the only thing about that is that at some point in their life, they had dreams. They had things that they want to accomplish. They had places that they want to see, places they want to go. But the thing about that is that when they start telling this information, it kind of not really mixed because they stop. They stop dreaming. They stop want to do this and that because they started to grow older and situations kind of got the best of them and they stopped growing. So now when they try to talk to us, it's like, you ain't really showing what we looking for, because here we are, we're talking to you, and the success that we're trying to reach, the love that we're trying to have, it stopped because life took over y'all. So it's not. It automatically become defensive. It comes as a mechanism, whatever, of them protecting us. But it's also one of the things that is killing us, because what they didn't do, and they try to tell us that, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Those are the very thing that got you in the predicament that you're in today. Those are the very things. And you can't help somebody do something that you never done. It have to be relatable at all times. It has to be. So if I'm coming and I'm trying to be a millionaire and I'm trying to obtain this and that, if you never really reached that and it was some part of your life at some point in time and you stop, there's nothing you can really teach me at that point, because only thing that will comes out is to be, oh no, you should do this, you should do that. You did that. They did that before us. That came before you. They did that, and it didn't work on no occasion at all. So, in this year of 2022, as it's coming to a close, it's time to start being held accountable for our past lives. It's time. You got little girls out here searching for love in all the wrong places, and they finding themselves in an abusive relationship. But you want to know the crazy thing about it is that their parents had those same exact situations, but never really told or never really explained that these things are happening, which result in a cycle to be continued, to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. So here we are. We looking for love because in our houses it wasn't none there. It stopped. And they don't even know it. So when we try to explain it, I'm gonna tell you exactly what we looking at. Where have you been? Where have you been? Like, that's the honest to God truth. And the only way that we can get past this and bridge this gap is the generation before us start getting back on that path. They start dreaming again. It's okay to dream. If you got a chance to see another day and another week and another month and another year, that's all the time in the world to start dreaming again. I know it hurts and I know it sucks because life done did so much to you. But listen, if God gave you an opportunity to wake up, do it. Don't try to skip generations. Because that's what a lot of seasoned folks are doing. They're skipping generations and trying to help that because they say we too lost or we don't want to learn. No, you stopped. That's it. You stopped. We're dreaming. We're trying to do it young. A lot of us spent our teenage years and 20 just going through life, partying, drinking, smoking, having kids, and all this. And that all could have been avoided if somebody would have just talked to us and told us not to do it. But you can't do it when we're in the midst of it. Some things have to be stopped before they even come about, because once we in it, we having too much fun. We not trying to listen anymore. The only way that we can avoid it is start changing what's on the inside of us. A lot of us, we smoked and we drink, which is me. I smoked and drink, and it didn't dawn on me until later on in the year, like, why? Once I stopped drinking and smoking, a lot of my friends kind of disappeared. They disappeared. My mama dealt with the same exact thing, but I would never know because the lessons and the values and stuff like that, they never taught us. They never solved it. So here we are. We're fighting through these things and we're having a pretty tough time doing it. But in the midst of these things, we're falling into situations that it's been tough to get out of. And sometimes in some of our lives, it takes a long time to get over it, man. I'm finding myself in situations right now that I just like, man, this is crazy. Why? Why am I in this? But you want to know something? As I'm on this journey to teaching me to be a man, you want to know something funny? There's no one teaching me how to be a man out here. There's no seasoned folk wrapping their arm around me and teaching me the way. And I'm not saying that to say, oh, that person wasn't there and that person wasn't there. Hey, it's all good and fine. Because life happened, I understand. But there still remain the fact that the person and the people that should have been there, they not there. They stopped. Those little girls out there and those grown women out there that still suffer from insecurities, that stuff that happened in their childhood, can't even be a woman because you know why? The parent, the mom stopped growing in every way, shape, or form. And like I said, I'm not saying that to say, oh, that person wasn't there. But no, the facts still remain the same, is that the accountability need to be taken because there should have been a mother teaching that girl, no matter how old they get, wisdom, will trump anything because you've been through it. But if you stop growing and you never really talk about it, what makes you think your kids is going to be anything different? It's crazy in life. It really is. It's crazy not having, living in a home and not have a mother with motherly love, to have fathers and not have fatherly love. It's crazy, but this is the stuff that we grow up with, and this is the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis because we didn't get it while we was at home. And that's because the generations that came before us never took into accountability that these things are happening. They only looking at it from their point of view, and they're not looking at it. Maybe if I would have been a better person, I could have did that. Now, I'm not trying to condemn anybody. I'm not trying to do anything. That all I'm saying is that there still should have been someone there, which means now it's time to take accountability that I need to be that person because it's still time. You waking up today. Let's improve. Start dreaming again. Start loving again. Start showing affection. Start showing how to get this, how to get that. That's the only way that my generation and the other generations that came before us can bridge together if we solve the problem of taking accountability over past situations, past mistakes, and everything. The cycle cannot continue. It can't. It can't. Everybody always talking about deadbeat fathers. Listen, if that guy didn't have a father in his life, what makes you think that guy was going to be a father at all? Simple. That's cycles. That's all it is. It's just a cycle, and it's created. Even though the child is not here, it's still in the bloodline. It's time to do something different. It's time. And it's time for our generation, even if the next generation don't do what they supposed to do, the only thing our generation can do is grow. But let me tell you something. The only way that change will come is if we do something different. We learn from our parents that grinding 24/7, that is not the way. That is not the way. If our parents have nothing to show years later, that is not the way. I'm sorry. That is not the way because listen, when you grind so much and you work your body to death and you work your feet, that's a mental and a physical thing that you put so much on your body and your mind every single day that it takes away from who you really are. I'm not saying that certain people won't find these jobs that will pay them good money and they will reach a certain status of life, which is cool. And if we looking for that too, then that's cool too though. But let me tell you something. If your mom 40, 50, 60 and she's been grinding and your father 40, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever age he is, and they've been grinding for a long time and don't have things to show for it, that's not the way. Everybody don't care about things though, but there still should be something that show, man, you've been grinding for a long time and you have reached a certain status. It's time to change and take an accountability for these things. That's the only way we would get better. That's the only way. There's nothing wrong with a father teaching his son, hey son, don't have sex because sex will bring so many problems. It could bring STDs, it could bring AIDS, it could bring being a father at a young age. And we don't even have to get on the subject of having the wrong baby mama. We don't. There's nothing wrong with saying get married first. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why the generations before us needed to be in position when it came time, because they would have stopped the cycle. A lot of situations, a lot of kids, a lot of drama will be ceased to assist if the wisdom and the values that was taught to them was taught to us. It's the only way. It's the inevitable way. That's it. Being held accountable. That's it. Because our generation is a generation that's searching for things far exceeds our parents. Far exceeds our parents. And the only way if we can get those things is looking back on their lives, those situations that they face, the stuff and everything like that, and we learn from it and we go search for the wisdom, the values and everything like that that they learn. But the only way to do it is through God. That's the only way to do it is through God. I'm not saying that a lot of our parents, because a lot of our parents may have been in church for a long time, but listen, they stopped. They at some point they turned the spirituality off and they stopped growing from them being the person that they needed to grow. They stopped dreaming. They had dreams. Everybody have dreams, but they stopped. It's time to take accountability on both sides. The only way we can bridge these gaps together and help the next generation is if we come together and we put our minds together. The word of God will never change. It never will. But the way that we preach it, it will. Because we got to reach other generations. And if we don't understand them and we trying to preach a word, it's like going one ear out the other. So it got to change. The word doesn't change, but seasons do. The only way that we can fight through this is together. In my generation, if it don't happen from the people that came before us, it's up to us to stop this. It's up to us to be held accountable, to put these things on our back and help this next generation. They're dying every day. They having kids and just thinking. At my time, when I first was born, being a baby mama was not what's up. Being a baby daddy was not what's up. I would tell you right now, it was not what's up. But this is the thing that they're searching for. Having sex at 14, 15, that is not what's up. Being influenced by others, that's not what's up. Being in your 30s and not knowing who you are, that's not what's up. Our generations are in our 30s and we're still trying to figure out who we are, what we're searching for. And all of that could have been avoided if the accountability from the next generation will take it up. There's no blame. There's no blame at all because our generation, because we should have seen it, but we didn't because we spent our teens and our 20s partying. We waited to 30 to try to get it together, and that was a huge problem and a big mistake. We're never too young to get rich. We're never too young to create generational wealth. We're never too young to be the voice of our generation. We're never too young. It can start as early as 10 if you have the desire. So let's stop these cycles. Let's stop these cycles of having babies out of nowhere, not knowing your mate. Let's stop. Let's tell our kids that they shouldn't be having sex at an early age. Like they should not be having sex at an early age. Because if they end up with an STD right now, little girls out here killing boys because they played around with their heart. That is freaking crazy. But the only way that we stop this is the people that came before them start to change. And listen, the people that came before us, start back dreaming. Start back loving. Start back showing love because you don't want to leave this earth and not fulfill your purpose. Not being who you're supposed to be. Wouldn't it be a shame that you went to the grave and now that you're asleep, that it was destined for you to be a millionaire, but you never obtained that level of success? You might have seen a little glimpse of it, but the Bible says that things that are not seen, heard, nor entered to a man's heart, the things that God has, He'll show you a glimpse. 250,000 is not a millionaire. That's cool. You ain't about to raise no next generation off that though. Let's do something different. Let's been held accountable. Let's start loving at home. Let's start thinking careers at home. Let's start thinking success at home. Let's start teaching our kids. We don't need to work at 14, 15. Come up with a career. Find out what you want to do. Let's do this thing really, really, really early because the early, the better. When you start teaching a kid at a younger age how to become disciplined with their body, their minds, their spirit, their souls, they keep that thing for a very long time. A very long time. A lot of these kids are going into basketball and football and they don't have a clue what the heck is going on. I always tell my nephews that don't ever think you're too young for a scout to come out there and look for you. LeBron James' son, despite his name, both of them got looked at a very young age, and not because, oh, that's LeBron James' son. No, they had the skills that go along with it. They had the skills that go along with it. Them boys are bad. If you teach them, if we teach them at a young age, that discipline will continue to carry on. So by the time they get to high school, they won't get the big head. They will always stay conditioned. They will always be humble in the midst of it all. This generation of kids have some of the most potential that I ever seen in every aspect of their life. Technology is taking over. And you want to know something crazy? The kids nowadays, they're learning. I have god babies. Two of the smartest god babies I've ever seen. They're at the top of their class. But their mother and her mother kept the brains. They kept studying and everything like that. And that's just the route that we got to take. The only way we can do it is with God. That's it. That's it. You can't just think you can do this thing all by yourself because we don't know how to talk to people. We don't know how to talk to people at all. We go through situations, and when it comes to trying to explain that situation to another person, we don't know how to talk to people. Because when somebody go through the same thing you went through, you'll be a little bit more. You would think you'll be a little bit more merciful, but you're not. Because the only thing you think, why are you doing this? No, it's love. It's love. Love will take you a long way. They gonna keep doing it because you kept doing it. It's a cycle. But if you break the cycle, then it will go so forth and so forth. So at some point, when we start taking accountability, these things will actually start to happen, and you'll start to see it in your kids' life, their kids' life, and their grandkids' life, so forth and so forth. It's a new day, man. It is a new day, and we can do it. We can do it. We, as a people, we can create a better culture and start creating generational wealth. Look at all these opportunities that we have out here in the year 2020, from social media to real estate to anything that we can ever imagine. The opportunities and the doors that wasn't open when we was coming up are now open. It's easy to find a contract. It's easy, but you have to get past the sins of your father, the sins of the generation before that, and even the ones that came before that. We have to get rid of all of that to become a better people so we can start thinking better, we can start acting better, we can start speaking better, and everything. So, if I can say anything else, it would be that every generation need to take accountability for their actions. Everybody. Nobody's putting these situations up to you. No one is putting that weed up to you. No one is putting that blunt up to you. No one is putting that drink up to you. Peer pressure is a mud, though, but if you know who you are as a person, you won't even have to face that. When you change your insides, you'll start attracting different people. When I decided that I wanted to be someone's husband and I changed the way that I think and the way that I acted, I started running into encounters with different females. Know something crazy though? When I decided that, the cycle came right back around. I found myself in a situation with a girl, but you wanna know what? I grew and I got past that point. I decided that I wanted to be a husband before I became someone's father. That was tough, but I got through it though. I got through it though, man. I thank God for that because I didn't have kids at an early age. So I'm thankful for that. So listen, let's start being held accountable. Let's stop these cycles. If we put the energy, the time, and the effort at an early age, and we looking at it from a different standpoint, life can be better. No matter what. Love conquer all because God is love. So love conquer all, time conquer all, faith conquer all, hope, wisdom, everything. Everything that's not of this world that we can't see is everything because it's God. The only way we can get through this is God. So I love everyone. I love everyone. And let's be held accountable. Let's be held accountable. And let's do what we need to do to make this world a better place. But it starts with us. I'm not attacking nobody or doing anything. I'm just bringing the obvious to the stage because it needs to be said. Some of us got so old and we got ourselves in these higher positions that we don't want to come down and admit that I could have been a better person at this stage of my life. We don't want to wait till we get to the end and you start thinking about what you could have did different. Let's do it today. No matter the age. If you can wake up, that means you can get it right that day. Let's put the time and the effort in and let's really do this thing. And I guarantee that the world that we desire, the success that we desire, the love that we desire, everything that we've been searching for, it can happen. So, love, peace, happiness, and yeah.